Ladies and gentlemen, when I say Roblox, what comes to your mind? Probably a wide variety of games. Maybe it's the predators that are on it, or maybe it's brain rot. Specifically, brain rot so bad that a worm eating a human brain would actually probably be smarter than some of the people that are playing this game. Well, today I'd like to take you all on an adventure through a game specifically called Scary Sushi. Think of it like this. His cooking mama accidentally got way too drunk with wine and decided to cheat with Five Nights at Freddy's and somehow made a unholy combination that gave us a delicious story-driven game. That's what I'll be covering today. Now, this game has two different chapters. Both deserve love for how amazing and sometimes frustrating they are. However, this video is simply going to be covering the very first chapter. We'll be covering chapter 2 at a later date. So, with chapter 1, I honestly think it might be my favorite. Before diving in, let's kind of break down some of the rules with this game. When you enter, you spawn in a hub. In the center is a big building with two circles on the floor. You have chapter 1 and chapter 2. When you step into a circle, a timer will start counting down. You'll also be able to see how many people are in the circle. That's because this is a multiplayer horror game. Everyone works together, but the vibe is like a cooking show with amazing kitchen designs. When the game begins, each player gets their own cooking station. There are 8 total, and you can't mess with anyone else's setup, only your own. From there, 2 hallways lead into a big rectangle hallway wrapped around the very first ingredient. Then, while walking it, you'll notice 3 other branching rooms, which are other ingredient dens. But they are locked for now, and that is simply because this chapter is split into 4 cooking courses. Each course introduces new ingredients, more lore, and new enemies as well. So, with all this being said, let's get into our very first course. The story kicks off with us trying to prove ourselves worthy to work at Moonlight Sushi, a prestigious restaurant that's been ranked number 1 for 15 years straight. We're introduced to Hiroshi Kimura, the founder, the owner, and yes, even the primary antagonist of this chapter. He lays out the lore, ingredients, and enemies of every single course, so be very used to seeing him and the cutscenes that come with him. We also learn of our very first enemy. We hear about Norman. We are told he is the janitor who's not feeling well. After learning the lore, we are then instructed of our very first 2 ingredients, which are rice and nori. They are the foundation of everything in each course, and so being introduced to them first makes complete sense. Every single ingredient you make will have either rice or nori or both at the exact same time. Now, here's a slight problem with me. No matter if it is your first time or your 100th time playing, the game forces you into a tutorial-like start, with 3 dishes always being the exact same no matter what you're doing. It is rice by itself, nori by itself, and then rice and nori, which will end up looking like actual sushi. However, no matter what, you're only allowed at the very first to have 1 ingredient picked up at a time, not being allowed to pick up 2 until you're doing the rice plus nori action. Now, in case you're wondering how you can actually tell what your orders are, the orders will appear on the right side of the screen, and at the very bottom there's also a countdown timer. This timer actually does matter a lot. This here is Flame's kill cooldown. If you're AFK or too slow, Flame will unfortunately kill you, and this will take 1 of your lives. Now, speaking of enemies, let's get to Norman, aka the janitor. He's basically the world's easiest horror enemy, with multiple different factors working against him. For one, he walks the hallways in circles at a slow pace. He always goes clockwise, therefore he's always easy to avoid. He also has the lights above him turn red. Therefore, whenever you look down the halls, you will be able to tell whenever he's rounding a corner. He never leaves the hallways. In fact, you can dive into rooms to get away from him when he begins chasing you. Speaking of which, when he sees you, he will make a audio cue that he is now chasing you. It sounds almost like a throw up sound, but do not fret. All you have to do is go into one of the ingredient dens or go back to the main cooking area and you will be completely safe. Speaking of which, due to him moving at a slow pace, you can either match him running or you can outrun him. Yet people, myself included, manage to die to him. It's honestly a little embarrassing. Okay, so that is the enemies done. We get a little bit of lore right there. How about whenever it comes to actually cooking? Well, it's very simple. When you go to make your nori, you will get seaweed from the ingredient den. You will then take it to a processor and begin processing it. All you have to do next is plate it on a plate. Now, once your dish is ready, you can put it on a conveyor belt delivery system. You never actually see your customers until about the very end. Now, if you look at the conveyor belt system, you will see that there is a giant number above it. Believe it or not, this is the total number of orders that need to be done, not what all you have to do. This number is dependent on how many players are actually alive. Each person has to make a certain amount. For course 1, everyone has to make 4 dishes. Course 2 and 3, it drops to 3 each. For course 4, it is only 2. Basically, the further you go, the lighter the load is. And if you're new, you do get some breathing room, while veterans can end up carrying you due to there not being a limit to how many you have to actually make. And if you die, do not panic. You actually have 3 total lives. However, I will go ahead and mention there are annoying bugs that are known to eat these lives up. And we will get into those a little bit later. Alright. With course 1 finally being over with, we're allowed to continue on to course 2. But before that, we get to go into a little bit of lore dropping. Hiroshi is about to continue talking to us, but suddenly the comms get hacked. Enter the mysterious Night Keepers. They begin by saying,
"Hello, we're the Night Keepers. You're in serious danger. There's not much time to explain. You're in the middle of an interdimensional..."
And then it cuts off. Suspicious, and also honestly the most interesting part of this entire thing, especially at the beginning. After this, we are then told that we are adding a new ingredient, which is simply going to be fish. We get the fish room unlocked, and oh boy, it is parkour time. This room is lined with white circles that turn red and fall into the water. Step wrong and you fall in. Touch the water, and you get to meet our brand new enemy, Oscar, a squid-like mutant waiting to drag you down. Now, let me complain for just a second. I was playing on my phone, which means I'm playing on a tiny screen with tiny buttons. Sometimes the buttons just don't respond, which means that I skill issued my way into the water 4 different times in one playthrough. Alright? Which means that I died so many times due to the fact that I can't jump. Yeah, Oscar was definitely eating good. I tell you that much right now. Also, so many people decide to just jump in with the fishes, quite literally. Allow me to explain. Whenever you enter this room, you will be allowed to go around the secure part. You then jump onto the circle, jump into the middle circle. The middle circle will not fall at all. You then look around, see where your fish is. You jump onto a possible circle that might fall, jump onto the secure platform. You then get to choose the fish. After you get your fish, you then have to make it back across, go to the center, and then leave the room. So many people, myself included, my very first time, thought you had to jump in with the fishes to get the fish, not seeing that there's a prompt saying, grab the fish this way. So you finally get to meet all of your fishes. You finally get the fish to your cooking room. How do you prepare them? To prepare the fish, you grab it from the room, haul it back, and use the world's slowest knife cutter, and then you get to finally put it back with the rice and nori, and you'll be able to make sushi. Repeat a few times, and boom, course 2 complete. Not much to this one, because Oscar really doesn't bother you unless you're, like me, stupid and skill issue your way into the water. So, let's move right on to course 3. And this one, once again, has something annoying to us. But before we get that, we get another Night Keeper interruption.
Kimura is not who he appears to be. He's harvesting and selling mutants. You need to get out of there.
So yeah, we're told that Mr. Prestigious Chef isn't all that good. But before we get to fully say that he's an awful person, we get introduced to our brand new ingredient, which is vegetables. The vegetable room, which is on the right side, ends up unlocking. To get to it, some of the time you gotta go counterclockwise, which means that you might run into the janitor. So be very careful whenever you go to do your vegetables. So, whenever you go into the vegetable room, you have 4 doors, 4 ingredients: carrots, cucumbers, avocados, and radishes. But it's actually only 3 because the radishes, unfortunately, is where our new enemy is. That's where Ivy lives. our new plant-based enemy. If you open her door, she will actually blind you with a green haze, and if you accidentally stay in front of her way too long, she does end up killing you. So, here's the tricky part. Ivy moves, but not the way that you think. She rotates from door to door on a timer, always shifting to the next one to the left. Now, here is another very annoying thing. There's no sound cue, no growl, nothing. So if you end up losing track of where she is, you're playing vegetable roulette and you gotta be prepared to end up losing a life. I will say though, I wouldn't expect them to add this in due to the single fact that she's probably the easiest to get away from. All it is open up the door and get as far back as you possibly can when it opens. Once you see that she's not in there, you can go in. Or you can wait for it to be switching, open up the door and see what rises as it's coming up, as she is unable to attack you while she's coming up. Preparing veggies is actually probably the easiest thing once you finally get it. You finally go in, get your vegetables, and end up back at your kitchen area. All you have to do is put it into the slow knife cooker, which once again is so slow. With you having to do fish and veggies the exact same way, what I ended up doing was first going to get my rice and fish. I would then have them cooking as I then left to go get my nori and my vegetables. When I got back, I would then put the nori into the processor, get all my other ingredients out to plate them as I put the veggies into the knife to slowly cut. This way it was efficient, but also not wasting as much time cooking. And with you doing this enough, you can end up getting this course done nice and easy. Just always be careful what it is you're doing. Now we move on to course 4, where we are introduced to my least favorite of the entirety of this game. You do not understand. I would like to go skydiving without a parachute than go deal with this warehouse. I would rather go swimming in shark-infested waters wearing steak underwear and having the cologne of squids. I don't think you understand. I would rather jump off the Eiffel Tower and decide to bungee jump using my own scrotum. This right here is called the secret ingredient warehouse. It is crawling with giant flies, the triplets. 3 of them, all buzzing in circles with spotlights shining out of their noses, I guess. If that light hits you, you're dead faster than a drunk driver on the road. The worst part, they're all at different speeds. The middle is the lightning fast and has blindsided me more times than I can count. It is basically JBL with the way that it moves, and it ends up clotheslining me so many times that my head ends up flying off. So, what exactly is this room? Well, simple. You end up walking into this warehouse, seeing barrels on top of barrels, being thousands of them, with there being little parts that you can end up hiding in. You have to make your way basically zigzagging, not getting caught in the spotlight, to end up at the very end. Once there, you climb up a ladder and you are at a safe space. You go, pull a lever, and then next thing you know, you have the special ingredient being made. So, here is my strategy to basically survive this course. Prep everything first. Then you can end up running to the warehouse. When you get to the very end, grab two ingredients at once. Since you only need two dishes this round, you'll be completely fine with doing this. You can carry two of them and you won't have to do anything else. It will waste a little bit of time, so make sure you're quick with everything else, not with running past the triplets. Usually by this point, I was on the only survivor, so I got very used to running this solo, and this strategy helped me do it way quicker than it probably should have. And after surviving, the Night Keepers return with another urgent warning to us.
Our sensors indicate multiple void entities moving to your location. Luckily, we found an unusual exit on the second floor. Get to the research elevator, it won't stay open long.
Sounds bad, right? Well, Hiroshi ends up cutting in at this point to say how amazing we've been doing at cooking, how great of chefs we are, and how the customers actually enjoy our meals. They want to meet us in person. He also says it's time for dessert to begin. And this is where a twist happens that I love to this point. The screen ends up saying that dessert is actually going to be us. And it's at this point that we have to begin running to said elevator that was said by the Night Keepers, which is in the warehouse. The camera zooms in, and suddenly every single enemy, including a new one named Puddle, a mutated customer, starts to chase us. It's like a Doors moment. Just run and don't stop, because if you do, you will end up getting caught up by Puddle. Puddle is faster than the player. And then you have Norman at the very last hallway that you come to begin chasing us. You also have Ivy completely blocking us from taking the exact right route. You also meet Oscar on the left side, so you will quite literally see every enemy that is in this game, except for one. After the chase, we make it to the second floor, where we see Hiroshi giving his big evil villain speech. After this giant speech, we then begin the best chase scene that happened in this game, even being out the one before it. But we get introduced to mutated Hiroshi as he begins to chase us and the floor begins to collapse while we're running. We make it to the portal and you're sucked into the void where chapter 2 will later begin. So, that is quite literally the entirety of chapter 1 and it is amazing. And with that, I actually have to thank a couple of people, and that is Evil Twin Games, because they absolutely cooked with this one. And another huge shout out to Halloween Wolf for design, building, and programming, Dino Bites for being a co designer, and Coco Mendoz for the Chapter 1 monster models. There are two other people that ended up working on this project too, but from what I'm seeing, they did a lot more stuff for Chapter 2, so I'm going to showcase them specifically in that video and give them a proper shout out. For Chapter 1, I'd rate this an 8 out of 10. It was fun, a little repetitive, but the lore mechanics hit really hard. Very super easy to understand, and honestly, if you're looking for a good time, I highly suggest this. I love to see more chapters, and if I had to give a very specific way on doing this, maybe a time travel one, where we can try to stop the void creature from ever being found, only to accidentally drag it back with us. Just imagine being the ones who either A, start the cycle, taking Hiroshi's place, or even being the ones to finally break it. That would honestly just be absolutely amazing, in my opinion. But that's up for the developers to decide. So, with that being said, this has been Scary Sushi Chapter 1. I hope y'all enjoyed it because honestly, I love playing this game. And honestly, this has been day A of our Halloween Horror Marathon. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Bye, y'all.
Ladies and gentlemen, if y'all would please do me a quick favor. I want to get some feedback from y'all on whether or not y'all enjoy this style of editing, if y'all want something a little bit different. I want some feedback in the comments if y'all wouldn't mind. Just tell me what you like, what you didn't like, so I can do more of what you like instead of what you don't like. Basically, I just want to make sure that I'm always doing the best content possible, especially because this video, especially, was me experimenting completely. I unfortunately had bad audio quality. I probably still do, due to the fact that I was using my phone to record my voice lines because I was reading a script. So just let me know what y'all would like, what y'all wouldn't like. And I will see y'all in the next one. Bye, y'all.